welcome to day 9 of my ceramic residency in Arita, Japan. I started off the morning with some drawing on base plates. I'm using a mechanical pencil to draw the design that I want on the plate. This plate comes with raised ridges, so I'm drawing lines to divide the design into sections. I drew a few bigger flowers that would cross over between the sections. Then the rest of the designs in each section would be related to flowers and plants. Using the same raised ridges plate, I also drew a water lily design and a design with geometric patterns and flowers as well. This specific plate will also have an outlined edge. In order to draw the lines to represent water movement, I'm using a thin line brush and then dipping it in medium shade blue underglaze. My left hand is holding onto my right wrist to stabilize it. My medium shade blue has less water in it compared to the light blue shade because I want to use a darker blue color as my outline. The lighter blue color is used for shading and filling in objects such as flowers and leaves. Curves and circles are the hardest to draw because it requires the brushstroke to be smooth and consistent. I often have to do it in a few strokes rather than one smooth stroke. Here's the progress of the water lily plate. I use medium blue for the lines and the smaller areas. Now let's move on to the next plate. I start off with a big brush and load it with the light blue shade underglaze to paint the outline. Because I drew the outline with a pencil, the graphite acts as a resistance to the paint, so the paint can stay where I want it to be. The light blue paint has more water in it, so I can easily move the paint along the plate. It is very therapeutic to paint in the morning by yourself in the studio. Most of the other artist residents, they don't come into the studio until later in the morning, so I can work uninterrupted. I am an introvert, so I really enjoy working on my own projects. During my residency, I want to focus on surface design, so I usually spend my morning and evening drawing design on my sketchbook or on base plates. Then in the afternoon, I would do mostly painting or glazing. After doing the outer edge of the plate, I like to draw all the outlines inside the plate, including the dividing lines. I like to draw the lines first and then do the shading afterwards because I found that it is very hard to see where the lines after I filled in the space with blue color. I always use this thin line brush for outlines and the big fat brush for shading. After learning about this way of drawing and painting in Japan, I'm starting to mix different shades of blue to create contrast in my work. When I have to fill in a small gap of line with the light blue underglaze, I always found it nerve-wracking and I would sometimes hold my breath while I paint because I don't want the paint to go outside the line. Theoretically, it shouldn't go outside of the pencil line if I have a steady hand and my pencil line has no gap. But after painting all day, I would get tired and sometimes the paint would go outside of the line. That is one of the challenges for me because I would lose track of time once I started working in the studio. That's why I found that time flies by quickly during the residency because there's always something to do in the studio and everyone around you is doing ceramics. I felt that I have so much inspiration every day and I could just keep working. Anyways, in the evening, we have our real throwing class. Last week I learned how to throw off the hump, so this week I wanted to learn trimming. The Arita style of trimming is very different from what I learned in Canada. They trim their pots on a chuck and after the pot has dried a lot. My teacher started off the class by trimming the chuck because it wasn't level. He has to tap center the chuck and then he used a square-shaped trimming tool to trim the top of the chuck. He said that the opening of the chuck has to be slightly smaller than the inside of your bowl. The benefit of trimming on a chuck is that you can trim all the way to the rim of your bowl so that the bowl can be very thin-walled. He is also trimming in front of a big fan that sucks out the clay dust. Because the pot is off the hump, so he used the corner of a trimming tool to level off the bottom of the bowl. Once he leveled that off, he switched the tool and started trimming the foot. I found that many of the bowls here have very high foot. He is also trimming the side of the bowl while his other hand is holding down the middle of the pot. After the demo, I tried trimming as well with my pots, but it wasn't very successful because I was not used to trimming so dry and trimming on a chuck. I guess that would be something I need to work on. My teacher was so kind and he offered me a lot of suggestions and help while I struggled to trim. Anyways, I had a very full day, so I was super tired by the end of it. That's the end of my day 9. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel to follow along on my journey.